when we think about building our brand, a lot of your brand itself, what people know of you, is how you act, right? And it will define you, or you will define it. Well, one way or another, it will be defined. Simple things like, do you show up on time? Is that your brand? Do you make sure that your guys or girls or whatever and your salespeople and yourself always show up on time? That's part of your brand. Or if you don't make sure, then part of your brand is going to become, oh, well, you know, Bob's painting is great, but they're always like an hour or two late.
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brushbuster.
All right, here we go. Back for another episode of Brushbusters. Woo, 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 woo. That's right, Chris Wolf, Freedom Program Director. I'm so stoked to be here with you guys today. You've heard me on a couple of these episodes before. This is going to be a great one today. We've got Rich Watson. Rich, I'll let you give your own introduction. How are you today, sir?
Hey, Chris, I'm good. Thanks, man. How are you?
Life's good. I was at Burning Man last week. I won't bore you with the details. It was awesome, and it's been a transition to get back into the default world, for sure.
I bet. I've heard about Burning Man, but don't know much about it, so we'll connect on that later. Cool. Yeah. Like you said, my name's Rich. Just joined the Painter Growth coaching team about 5 weeks ago. I am involved in the Momentum program and then helping out with some blueprint stuff, and really getting involved with the Painter Growth community, and excited to continue on that. So brief background about myself. Recently ran a home service company for the last 6 years. Started that in 2018 and built it up to 10 full-time field employees. We had 4 crews, 4 trucks, 1 full-time office manager. And
big operation.
I was able to sell that in January, and now I'm here.
And 8-9 months later, then you decide to get back to work.
Something like that. Yeah, family moved out of the U.S. So,
no, tell me, what did you do with that time? I think that's the dream for a lot of people, right? Is to like have a big exit, make a bunch of money, and then have time, right? So tell us, what did you do with all this time?
Yeah, well, we were living up in Ontario, Canada at the time, just outside of Toronto. So we had some big personal changes as well. So, sold the business end of January, helped with the transition for a couple weeks, and then we went down to the States, did some traveling, and then moved my family out to Montana. So squeezed in a couple of trips in the meantime, but big move. So we moved from Toronto down to Montana. So some of that time was spent kind of packing up our house, moving the family out here. But we got settled. Like I said, squeezed in a couple of personal trips, and some fishing trips with some close buddy of mine, and a final scouting boots on the ground trip to Montana with the family. And then we packed up the U-Haul and headed down to the USA.
Wow. USA. Do you feel like you're in the land of opportunity now?
Absolutely.
I love it. Us Yankees are so underrepresented at Painter Growth. I'm going to claim you as one of ours.
I'll take it.
So Montana, huh? What's the point? Like Toronto, right? That's kind of city-ish, right? It's pretty urban, even, if you're a little bit outside, right? So not only did you move internationally, but you moved like completely from like the city to nowhere. I mean, even if you're in a city in Montana, no offense, I love Montana. It's still the middle of nowhere. What was that? Was that just like I don't even know where did that come from?
Yeah, a couple of things. My wife and I were looking for a big sort of lifestyle change. I grew up when I was younger in the country, like in a small town under 15,000 people, about 2 hours outside of Toronto. And I grew up, I was a competitive skier.
Tell me you're near Big Sky.
1 hour north of Big Sky.
Yeah, good for you, brother.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So yes, I'm a skier. Started fly fishing about 4 years ago and just absolutely love that. And just love the outdoors. So there's lots of all those things in Montana, and a good place to raise a family. So we made the move.
Dude, you are literally living the dream. Anyone who's in Blueprint or Momentum, make sure you grab some time with Rich if you want to hear about how to build up your business so you can exit and move wherever the hell you want, including middle of nowhere, Montana. I guess you're probably close to Bozeman, right? If you're an hour north.
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes outside of Bozeman.
Yeah,
the next town over.
It's beautiful country. I'm really happy for you, brother.
Yeah,
A quick intro for me. So my name's Chris Wolf. You guys have heard me before. I've been in the painting and construction businesses since I was like 19 years old. That's all I've known. I've exited several businesses. I've worked in big franchise companies. I've coached hundreds of entrepreneurs and salespeople and production managers and painters and this and that. I won't bore you guys with all the details, but I'm here today with Rich to blow your mind with the next episode of Brush Busters. There we go. I knew I could get you dancing, Rich. I knew I could get you. Okay, cool. So I've got the questions right here, Rich. You mind if I go on the first one?
Absolutely.
All right. Hello, Brush Busters. I've been thinking a lot about my brand lately. My logo and website feel outdated, and I want to create a stronger image that stands out. Not really sure where to start with rebranding. How important is brand identity? How can I build one that resonates with clients? Or should I just focus on something else for now? Thanks, David. All right, interesting. So, Rich, I actually am really curious on your perspective because you came from a franchise organization, right, where it was a pretty strong brand that you were able to tap into. So, what are your thoughts on this question, on building a brand, on where to start? I'll let you go from here.
Yeah. So it was a huge focus with the last business and the franchise system that I was in. We had a strong brand presence, so like right down from our creative, so literally the logo, how it presents on all the different creative assets that we use to market our business. And it was a big focus of ours. We're always just thinking, how can we get another lead from everything that we do and keeping it all like very simple, very organized. So I would say, yeah, like for most like painting businesses at the start, I mean, something that can get you started is great. But as your business progresses, I would say it's definitely a good idea to create that professional image. That's what we would talk about a lot, especially if you want to position yourself. For example, you target, high-end residential. Well, in that case, like having a strong brand that separates you in the marketplace and the neighborhoods that you're doing work, I would say definitely something to spend your time on. So there's a lot that could go in there, but yeah, I'd say like simple, less is more with your branding, like right down to your lawn sign. We talk about it a lot with clients, like just having literally your logo, your name, and what you do. That's great. Make it simple and easier for people to get a hold of you and something that connects with them from a branding standpoint.
Totally. I love that. Keep it simple, stupid, right? That's number one. I really like what you said, though, too. You didn't get too stuck on the logo itself, right? It sounds like, who's this? Is David? David, no offense. It sounds like you're a little stuck on, the artistic presentation. And that's important. Don't get me wrong. You want to have a logo you feel proud of. But what I hear you saying, Rich, is whatever that logo ends up being, and we can talk a little bit about that. It's not as important as most people think. But have it everywhere. Have it on the shirts. Have it on the trucks. Have it on the lawn signs. Have it on the door hangers. Do all those things. Make sure your painters are always wearing your shirt with your logo on it, right? So like you're talking about, how do we get one more lead? Well, the painters go to the grocery store to grab some lunch, and they're wearing their branded shirt. And some old lady's like, oh, excuse me, are you painters? Can you give me an estimate? Right? So what I'm hearing, and I really like from what you said, is like consistent, right? Whatever your brand is, make sure it's there. And then, presentable, right? When you show up for sales appointments, whoever does sales appointments, make sure they're wearing a nice polo, right? Or a button down. You want them to look fresh. Ideally, the painters themselves, if the shirts get too dirty, get them new shirts. Have you ever seen that, Rich, where people are wearing, it's the branded shirt that they got, but it's like, 6 months past due. You're like, dude, just get them a new shirt.
Yes. I went into that myself. Yeah, Chris, you made some good points, I would say. And just thinking back with some of the clients that I've started working with, like keeping it consistent. So what we mean by that is the logo on your door hanger has to look the same on your lawn sign, has to look the same on your shirt. So some of our clients, and again, like just getting started is a great start. But again, once you start professionalizing your business, and thinking about your logo or your branding. It's just, again, just keep it consistent. So all has to kind of look the same, and put your brand, put your logo, put your phone number on as many things as you can. Like, always be branding is a way to look at it. I mean, once you start getting a couple of crews, I would say a big thing too is like having your vehicles wrapped.
Every single one.
Every single one. Your estimating vehicle, if you're still in the business a lot and you're doing quotes, like have your personal truck branded. You can write it off as a business expense, everything. So that, like, no matter what, wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, people can see your business. And the more people see, the more likely they are to be familiar with you and give you a call for work.
Exactly. And then also, there's a difference between brand and branding. A lot of what we've talked about so far is branding. It's stuff. But, you know, when we think about building our brand, a lot of your brand itself, what people know of you, is how you act, right? And it will define you, or you will define it. Well, one way or another, it will be defined. Simple things like, do you show up on time? Is that your brand? Do you make sure that your guys or girls or whatever and your salespeople and yourself always show up on time? That's part of your brand. Or if you don't make sure, then part of your brand is going to become, oh, well, you know, Bob's painting is great, but they're always like an hour or two late. Right? There's branding, there's the stuff, you know, and I think the guy David who wrote in is really worried about the stuff. There's also the brand of how you are. Do you return phone calls quickly? Whether it's good or bad. Are you there in the mornings? Are you making sure that all the details, like, there's branding and there's brand. And when you're talking about building your brand, you have to look the part. You have to have all the pieces that all look the part and they all match and they're on all the things. And then you also have to have the actions that back it up. Say, yeah, this is who we are. We look good. We look professional. And also we act professional.
Yeah, when you said that, and I appreciate, the distinction. We, with our last business, we called it exceptional focus areas. So we literally 3 things with our brand. We had clean, shiny trucks, friendly uniform field techs, and we'd get our work done in one visit. Those are the 3 things. So I think that ties into what you were just saying. That was our brand. That's what we wanted to develop our brand as, so that when people worked with our business, they could expect that. And we would even, in the sales process, we would say, hey, just so you're aware, you work with our company, here's what you can expect. So we're literally putting it out there. Like, okay, some of them say, okay, that sounds great. But then when you actually deliver it, it's not complicated things, but like when you're growing and scaling a company, when you're doing that thing all the time, your guys are always clean, to your point, when they're showing up. We had a cleaning company, so you better hope that your staff are clean when you show up to clean a house. But same thing with painting, like showing up clean, neat and organized, whatever those things are, it's a good exercise. And again, to your point, that's your brand.
Yeah, how you act. I see so many business owners waste so much time on stupid stuff like business cards. Yeah, you have to have them. They have to have your logo on them. Most people are going to throw them away. 99.9% of the time, when you give out a business card, it gets thrown away within an hour or lost.
Yep.
Right? It's like, yeah, you have to have it. The website, that's a little bit, you can put some work into that. But honestly, like logo design, website design, there's some resources that we can direct you towards through Painter Growth. But a lot of that can be done pretty cheaply and authentically yourself or with a loved one. In my construction business, my wife made the logo. It took her like 10 minutes on some website. And everyone's like, oh my God, I love your logo. It's so good. And it's like, it didn't even cost us any money. Like, don't spend $30,000 to have some professional developer make your logo and also make your website when you can do the same thing for $600 yourself. Don't get stuck on that stuff. Focus on having all the things that you're supposed to have together and then acting the right way. I really like what you said, Rich, about like listing out, broadcasting loud and clear. This is what we stand for. It's almost like core values, right?
Yep.
It's like, hey, this is what you can expect from my company. That's the kind of stuff that I'd be focusing on, David. I wouldn't be focusing on, what if I add one more little white streak on the logo here? What if I pay someone $1,000 to tell me I need to do one more streak on the logo? All right, you good on that one?
I think we're good.
Love it. All right, let's plow on to the next one here. Moving right along today.
Yeah, I could take this one.
Go for it. It's all you.
We have next one, expanding into new markets. I'm thinking about expanding my services into a neighboring town to get more business, but I'm unsure about the risks. What should I consider before making the move to a new market? I don't want to overstretch and end up in trouble. Best regards, Chris.
Oh, first off, great name.
I was going to say, that's not yourself, Smith, is it, Chris?
It's my burner account. My burner.
Yeah, I'll take this one. So I would say this is something that we faced in our last business, expanding into a new town. I would say the main things are like have a plan and even like getting things on paper. So like, what's your marketing plan? What are you going to invest specifically in that new town? And it'd be good to really track that. Lawn signs, door hangers, direct mail, maybe some Google PPC. Set a budget for that like new town in this case. And then be really good with tracking your marketing investment and be willing to invest for a good period of time, i.e. like 6 months or more. So make sure that you have that financially in place to give it an honest shot. If you go in there for 2 weeks, put up 15 lawn signs, not in a coordinated way, not consistently, it's probably not going to work out. So this is something that we did in our last business. We targeted a town that was about 40 minutes away. We saw an opportunity, but we did our research, made sure it was going to be worth the investment, like average, home sell price, average income. Okay, that's there. What's our marketing plan? Okay, we're going to invest for 6 months in this plan. We're going to give it a good shot. So those are the things that come to mind.
I love that. Those are excellent tactics. I really, so some of the first wisdom I'm getting from you since you joined the team, I'm really seeing why they brought you in because of the way it's so organized, the way you operate. I love that. It's like a plan. There's, time built in for the plan to work, right? So one thing, I'm going to go a slightly different direction on this. One thing I come back to is why. Why are you do? So for you, Rich, in your example, why? What was your big why in terms of making that move?
Yeah, so that's in our case. We did this on I think year 4 or 5. So we felt, at least from our data, that we were starting to like really own the couple towns in our case that we started in. And it was like, is there still more business there? Yes. We would even try and break it down to like how many dollars per person in this city should we be getting a year? It's like there is still more market share, but hey, we own this pretty good. We want to scale a little bit more. We want to add 200K to our top line this year. Let's go over to the next town. Nice. I don't know if that's what you're getting at, but it's like there's always more business where you are. And kind of what we talk about is like just own that area so that everyone knows who you are.
No, that's beautiful. You made the point excellently for me because I think there's a lot of times that people want to expand or grow and they don't really know what the hell they're doing or why they're doing it. But you, like what you were talking about is you've already done a really good job where you're at and you feel really good about where you're at already. Then you're looking at the next opportunity. I've heard people talk about though, like, I'm like, oh, why do you want to expand? Oh, it's too competitive in this market. It's going to be just as competitive in the other market, dude.
Yeah.
Right. Or I want to make more money. Well, how much are you making? I don't know, but I want to make more. Right. Like you were describing an organized, methodical approach where you knew some pretty key metrics about where you're at. You felt good about your position, your current market. You felt successful. You felt like you had headspace, right? And time and energy and capital, right? You said you had a 6-month time horizon, so you're putting money in, right? That's a really organized approach. When I hear about, someone, hey, well, I'm thinking about doing this, it's like, okay, why are you thinking about it? Because the risks, so it says, I'm unsure about the risks. The risks are that you waste a lot of time and money or that you flop in both locations, right? And so, right, like I've seen this countless times with businesses trying to expand. They want to grow, right? I want to grow. The business is going to grow. We're going to grow. It's like, okay, but are you growing in a way that you're going to keep growing? Or are you doing like growth for a month or two and then your whole thing collapses?
Yeah. One last thing that just came to mind too on this is, so again, sort of going like knowing your data, knowing where you're at. Can you make this investment and the time investment? with my last business, when we did this, I had someone that I was sort of grooming to be like the manager of my business. So we're like trying to elevate this person within the business. And so what we did was I was basically sat down with him, was like, hey, you want more? We're getting close to bumping you to the next level. We're going to expand it to town X. Here's the plan. Is this something that you want to take on? I can sort of let you run this satellite location. So it just came to mind when you were saying that. You're going to have your own KPIs. I'll give you 6 months. I'll support you like throughout the whole process, but I want you to lead this. So it could be an idea if people are in that position where they have a key employee and your business is growing and things are in a good spot. It could be a great opportunity to give someone like a huge opportunity to really almost run a little satellite location within your business. So just thought I'd mention that.
Totally. I mean, that's super important. I was going to go there next as well. It's like you have to have the people for it. Either you're going to have to get people from your current market and take them away from the existing team and what they do on the existing team, and that your current market business might be ready for that or not. So either you have to take someone from the existing team, or you have to find totally new people that you haven't ever worked with before, and someone has to own that spot, right? Like that's a big mistake I see people make, is when they're trying to do multiple locations and they're trying to be then basically effectively the general manager of both locations. And when you're the general manager of 2 locations, in actuality, you're the general manager of 0 locations, or the owner of 0 locations, right? So much stuff slips through the cracks. So that's a good point too. Yeah, something to think about, depending how far away it is. You said yours was about 40 minutes, 30, 40 minutes. Conceivably, at least for a short term, you could have people from the existing team help start that next team. If you're an hour plus, right? Like that's for sure going to be an entirely new team.
Yeah, a lot of logistics when it gets beyond that, where like you can't just zip over. Because again, it's like, not going into it too much, but it's like, hey, when we start getting quotes from our marketing plan, how are we going to logistically manage that?
Right.
Can we maybe block off 1 day a week where like that's our opening to do quotes? We load up that like, hey, we're doing quotes over there on Fridays. So at least when you're going over there, like every step of the way, you're looking at your return and making sure, is this a good investment?
Totally. But even that's kind of sucky, right? Because some customers aren't going to be able to meet on Fridays.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, I mean, that's why I always come back to why. Why are you doing it? And then if you have a good why, yeah, do you have the money to support for 6 months? I think 6 months is a great number. I don't know what kind of research you landed on, or if that was a gut feel, but my gut feeling is like giving it 6 months of actual support is a great number. But then you as a business need to think about worst case scenario. That's 6 months of negative cash flow from that location if things don't work out.
Yep.
Is your main business doing well enough that you can support that, where you're losing another 5, 10, 15 grand a month trying to get this other thing going? Good stuff, Rich. Good stuff. We are cruising today. On to the next one.
Yes, sir.
All right, you take this one too. I like your style.
Sounds good. All right, so next question is from Tony. I've been trying to close sales on the spot rather than sending quotes by email, but it's been tough. I often freeze up when a client pushes back or asks for a discount, and I end up agreeing to things I'm not happy with. How can I improve my sales conversations and close more deals confidently? Thanks.
Oh, Tony. That's from Tony? Is that what that was?
Yes, from Tony.
Tony. Oh. First off, got to give Tony big acknowledgement for presenting the price in person. That is what we coach. That is what we do. If you want to be successful in this business, whoever's doing the sales, whether it's you or your people, the sales professional who's delivering the quote needs to do it in person. So big props to you, Tony. You're going the right direction. You're doing the right thing. That is what you need to start with. We can talk about all the other stuff, but I don't want to brush that under the rug. I want to acknowledge that, because a lot of people, it's so convenient. So many contractors just email bids. You close so many less projects when you email bids. I'm sorry. It's just what it is. I don't know what your experience is with it, Rich, but for me, you're talking, even especially when you get into the bigger projects, right? But even the regular ones, 3, 5, 8 grand, 10 grand. It's like, you really, really, really need to be there in person. So good job, Tony. We'll get to all the other stuff now. Had to start with the props.
Yeah. So with that, Tony's saying I freeze up when a client pushes back or asks for a discount, and I end up agreeing to things I'm not happy with. So how can I improve my sales conversation? So I would say, like Chris said, continue presenting on the spot. Do not stop doing that. When a client pushes back, I would say this is part of why you're there in person, because you're communicating, you're seeing the body language, you're building the rapport, you're building the relationship. It's like that's actually the best place to have the objection. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot in there, but I would say so continue doing it. I would say you're going to get it probably on 60% of your presentations. So just expect it. And then as you do more of these and you get more reps, you will get familiar with some, I would say, some common objections, and then practice handling those objections.
So let's talk about the number one. Let's talk about the number one that he brought up. The pushes back or asks for a discount.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tony goes in and he says, it's going to be $4,500, paint this house. And the customer says, $4,500. Can you do it for $4,000? What advice are you giving to Tony?
Well, I'd say this could go back to even like before you're at your estimate. Like, are you doing a setup call, which we coach on? It's like, are you setting the stage so that they're getting to 80% sold, as we call it, when you get to the estimate? Maybe there's an opportunity, Tony, to be just doing a little bit more of a qualifying process for your customers too, because like you're qualifying them, at least you want to get to that level as much as they're qualifying you. So you're doing your setup call, you're asking for scope of work, asking for past experiences. And if once they give you scope, generally maybe it's a good idea to give them a guideline. Hey, like, you get an expectation of how much it's going to cost. Might be a good question. And if they're like, yeah, to do the whole inside, I was hoping like $1,500 on a 4-bedroom house. Well, that might be where you could say in the setup call before you've driven, spent the time, hey, just so you're aware for something like this, here's actually with our business, here's how much it's going to cost and here's why.
Here's a range, 10 to 20 or 10 to 15 or 15 to 20, whatever.
Yeah. So I'd say that would be maybe just a piece that you may want to look at or tweak is again, that setup call, spend more time on it. Spend an extra 5-10 minutes so that you're potentially weeding out some people where it's just not going to be your customer no matter what. And you're getting to more people that they know the range, you've set the expectations, you started to present your value prop on the setup call, like, hey, just so you know, like, here's how we operate, here's what we do. Back to our other question, like, here's our focus here, like, here's our brand, here's what you can expect when you work with us. So kind of going, okay, these guys are legit. And then that next stage is on site at the quote, do your walkthrough in a structured way so that when you go to the pitch, I mean, they kind of know where you're going to be.
Yep. Well, and also what I like about that is that you're proving your worth ahead of time. That's one of the first questions I think of when someone's like, oh, the customers always object to price. Like, okay, well, how are you differentiating yourself ahead of time? Are you doing a thorough setup call that no one else in the industry does? Are you showing up on time? Are you doing a great walkthrough? Are you taking them through the bid? Are you describing all the things, all the issues and all the things you're going to do to fix them? Right? Like, are you building value throughout the process? Absolutely starts with a setup call. And I totally agree with you that you can filter out the worst clients on the setup call. And they're like, yeah, it's gonna be $1,000, right? And you're like, yeah, we typically average $4,000 to $8,000 for that type of project. Don't even go to that estimate. Save everybody the time, right? I love that. 100%. And then, but also the flip side value of not only are you like weeding people out and setting yourself up for success, but you're showing so much professionalism, right? Like, why do people pay more money? They have to like you, first of all. They're not going to pay more money if you're a total prick, but they're willing to pay more money for a better service. And what does a better service look like? It looks like a more thorough and detailed and attentive sales rep who takes the time to get through the whole process and ask the right questions and set the appointment up for success and set the customer up for success and goes through and says, this is how we operate. These are the things we do that are above and beyond. This is who we are. This is our brand. This is what we're going to do for you. This is how you're going to feel when you're done working with us. If you do all those things, first off, you're going to get a lot less price objections.
I was going to say, yeah, you do that and you're just going to get less.
Right. People are going to be like, oh, they're more expensive. I get it. They're a better service. It's higher quality. You know, I don't know the different cruise lines, right? But I know there's like the cheap cruise line and the super expensive cruise line. And people still pay to go on the super expensive cruise line because they expect a really good service, but they're happy to pay the money, right? Those are typically the people we want. We want the ones who are willing to pay more. If you're competing on price all the time, email me. Let's have a talk. But then lastly, oh, no, keep going.
I was going to say, yeah, really what we're talking about here is like, what is your value proposition? Don't, you know, your value is we're clean and organized. We show up on time. Like when we complete your job, we do a final walk around, make sure that you're 100% satisfied before we leave.
No stress.
No stress. We'll make it easy. We'll be clean.
Yeah.
Deliver on those things. And that's your value. So it gets it away from price because they're like, okay, well, yeah, I had a bad experience before. They weren't all those things. So it's like, yeah, we're going to deliver. Here's why our price is X. Okay.
Yeah. And then I think the other part of it too, looking kind of like back through the question here, Tony, is there's going to have to be some personal growth on like saying no to people. Like, I don't want to psychoanalyze you and be all Dr. Phil, but like it says right here, I freeze up when they push back. I agree to things I'm not happy with. So I'm sorry that you feel that way, that you're doing those things. You're going to have to learn how to say no. You're going to have to learn how to walk away. I was just working with a client the other day. Exact situation happened. Exact. Customer wanted a discount. They started to get a little attitude even with them, you know, kind of like aggressive with the negotiation. And the guy that I work with was just like, you know what? Nope. I'm sorry. Thank you for your time. Good luck with your project. And he goes to walk out the door. And I think what happened is it was a couple. I think the wife tore into the husband. And the husband comes out the front door and hey, oh, hold on, I'm sorry, you know, and they sign for the full price. Now, it's not always going to be that awesome when you say no. Like sometimes you say no and you walk away and you didn't get the deal. But who's this? Tony? Tony, you got to practice saying no. You got to know your worth. Because there's always going to be, even when you do the setup call and you do everything perfectly and you screen everyone, you're the best sales rep in the whole wide world, and you do all the steps, you're still going to have people that are going to be like this sometimes. And I'm assuming, Tony, if you're a business owner, right, then I hope that you're not having these same problems saying no to people during production as well. Because that costs a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of frustration. So it's uncomfortable, right? But the name of this company is Painter Growth because we want everyone to grow. And if you're someone who's facing these same issues, you're going to have to start practicing saying no. That's going to be your big growth. That's going to be your Mount Everest, right? For some people, it's scary. It's terrifying. You're worried that you're not going to get any business, that people are going to abandon you, that all these things, right? But I'm telling you right now, Mike and I were talking on a different episode about $1 million plus businesses. Someone who runs $1 million plus painting business knows how to say no at the appropriate and respectful times. So if someone's coming at you and pushing you and you say, hey, I know my worth. I know what it takes to do a good job. This is what it is. If that's not what you guys are looking for, I understand. Have a great day. Good luck with your project.
Yeah. And Chris, on that, I think, yeah, you really nailed it. It's something that does come with like flexing that muscle. As you build your business and gain more confidence and really know where you stand in your marketplace and you know why your numbers are what they are, and you've delivered that and you've communicated that to the client, sometimes you just got to walk away. And sometimes those jobs are ones that you'll actually save money by not taking the job. And I'm sure you and I both learned those lessons many times. And we got to get better to then go, no, based on experience, I'm going to walk away. Hope it goes well for you. And I'm not saying you say the walk away part to the client, but it's like, hey, here's your price. I'm confident with my proposal. We'll deliver. And they still pushing. It's like, not a problem.
I know what it takes to do a great job. And if they don't want it, it's okay. You're right. Because the people who are pushing for discounts and want to argue and get every inch, they're not going to suddenly turn into Mr. Nice Guy during operations. It's not going to get any better. It's like a toddler that you're enabling. If you enable I have small kids. If you enable a toddler, guess what? They're not going to change their mind and suddenly be more pleasant and agreeable. They're going to push harder. and more because they know they've got you. It's the same thing with that type of customer. So cool. Nice. What do you think? We got time for one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right. Can I read this one?
Go for it.
All right. Navigating seasonal slowdowns. Hey there, brushbusters. Winter is coming. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, that wasn't part of it. And I'm worried about the slowdown. The slowdown. Last year, we barely made it through, and I don't want to be in that position again. How can I keep my team busy and my business afloat during the off season? Thanks, Larry.
I can take this one, Chris.
Yeah, I'm all ears.
Yeah, have direct experience in this just from the last company that I ran. We like northern climate. 90% of the work we did was exterior work. We were shut down 3 months a year, so we had 9 months of an operating season. So I would say a great starting point is knowing, like, being on your financials is a huge lesson for a lot of us. It was for me in my first year going into that first winter and surviving. I was like, I don't want to do that again. So ramping up for the spring, knowing some of your key metrics, specifically what's your monthly cash burn, meaning what are your fixed expenses every month, whether you produce 100,000, 10,000 or zero. Okay. If you have a 3 month slow season or basically like an off season, you want to be planning for that 9 months ahead, so that when you're going in the spring, you already know what you have to have in your bank account come end of November, early December, whatever it is, so that you're in a good position. So I would say that's number one, which goes back to knowing your numbers. What's your cash burn a month? What are your fixed expenses? Times that by how many months you're slow. You need to have that money and probably then some to be a little bit of a cushion going into slow season. So, and by starting to plan for it in the spring, you're giving yourself time so that, and you have that like second bank account or third bank account where it's like, this is our account to float the company through the winter
savings.
Winter savings account.
And it should be full by the end of August.
Yes. So that's first thing that comes to mind. I've dealt with that. That's number one. Number two is during your operating season, you just need to be like, you need to be crushing it. So it's like, you need to make the most, especially in really seasonal markets. You have to be on when you're operating, meaning like maximizing every day, every week, revenue, profitability, so on, so that you can make the most of it and you're in that good position.
Totally. I love that. I'm going to give you some other tactics as well. So it sounds like, who is this? Larry, I don't know how much interior painting you're doing, but even in cold climates, you can paint inside in the wintertime. You know, if you've never done interior, your first winter, your first season, your first interior season will definitely be an adjustment, and you'll make some mistakes and you'll screw up. But you can learn it pretty quick. And you can train your guys and you can work through it. You can ask your paint suppliers. My first year that I ever did it, I asked my local Sherwin-Williams store manager to give me and my crew, you know, like a little like one day kind of walkthrough, like texture, right? Like when you're doing exteriors, you never have to deal with drywall texture, you know, or patching drywall, that sort of stuff. So, but it's, you know, it's still painting and it's still the same market. So that'd be one thing for sure is, you know, how much interior painting are you doing? Or what other like adjacent services can you be doing that are pretty close? I know a lot of exterior painters hang Christmas lights in the holiday season. It's never really been my jam, but I know a lot of guys who've done that. If you don't want to do interior painting. Another thing too is the holiday season. So even if you do interior painting, right? I don't know about you guys, Rich. When's your Canadian Thanksgiving? When is that? Like October?
It's early, yeah. I think it's first Saturday in October.
Okay. So it's not as much of an issue for you. In the States, we have Thanksgiving at the end of November. And from Thanksgiving to New Year's is a really, really hard time to be in people's houses, even if they want the project done. Like the week before Thanksgiving, all the way through New Year's, right? Like who wants to be painting their living room the week before Christmas? Not very many people. And I wouldn't recommend it because there's a lot that can go wrong if your project is delayed. Right. So one thing you can do if you are interested in any sort of interior commercial projects, that's a great time to schedule those. if you can, or even small scale stuff like a barber shop or a hair salon or whatever, right? Those types of projects are really great to do in that November, December timeframe when residential is slowing down. After New Year's, you can usually get a pretty decent amount of interior going. You'd have to line it up prior to New Year's, right? You do your sales throughout the fall. But you can definitely do interior from Jan 1 onward, I'd say, until you get to the exterior season. That's pretty smooth. The really hard time in the States is that end of November through end of December.
And on that, in terms of like going back to being like thinking ahead, now's a great time, like in terms of your interior marketing, if you're building up for that first season, Chris, like you said, like start working on that like in August.
Yep.
So, start having those conversations with your clients. Hey, just so you're aware, we also do interior painting, just even something as simple as that, little flyer. So really just start to ramp that up sooner so you build that pipeline. So, it's like, hey, going into December, like you said, or that whether it's commercial interior work, and plant those for December, Jan. So, hey, when I go into that period, like I'm already set, I've got, 50 grand on the schedule for December or 75 grand, 100 grand.
So you can find a family that's going to go on vacation for December and they don't care if their house is getting painted from the inside. Yeah, that's a great point. That's what I was going to say too, like planning ahead, right? We're always about planning ahead. If you're going to have interior paint or chase interior paint, you should be doing marketing through September, October, November. I got for my construction business, I got a home show coming up here in September, and I got another one coming up in October. And I book work both for the fall, but also for the winter and early spring.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a big temptation for a lot of exterior guys, right? You're talking earlier about you got to maximize, you got to go hard, you got to do all of that during the exterior season. I agree with that. But then a lot of guys get pooped. They're not doing enough self-care, enough vacations and whatnot. So by this time of year, they're like, I don't want to do any more marketing. I don't want to do any more sales. But, hey, take better care of yourself to this point. I just took a couple of vacations. I feel great. I'm tan as hell. But B, Rich, this is my first time working with you, but I don't know how hard that would be.
Not very hard.
But, like if you're going to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, right, take control of it. And yeah, if you are going to market through, if you're going to do interior work, you got to market through the fall for sure. Take more. If you're feeling burned out right now in September, October, end of the exterior season, you're ready to just call it a day. It's fine. I get it. But it probably means you need to do a little bit better job taking care of yourself along the way, whether that's yoga or working out or time with your kids or more naps. I don't really care what it is. Make sure that you have energy to work year round. You're an entrepreneur. You can take breaks whenever you want.
I was going to say, we just had a client that I think booked his first vacation with his wife since he started his business. And I think it's been 3 or 4 years. So it's like, kudos to you. But to your point, I mean, put the rock in the river is the expression I love. It's like every quarter, maybe take an extended long weekend, 4 or 5 days, put it on the schedule in advance. And it's like, I'm gone these days, just to make sure that you have that balance.
Yep, absolutely. And that'll help keep your energy to keep going, powering through on season, off season, whatever it is. But so back to the original question, Larry, I think it's kind of a mindset, right? It's are you going to batten down the hatches and just try to hold through the winter, or are you going to try to keep getting work and work through it? But either way, have your plan, work your plan. And even if you're just going to, I know a lot of guys who batten down the hatches for a month or two, or they go to Mexico for 2 months. Good for you. Just make sure you have the money saved. Make sure you got your guys taken care of. All right, Rich. I don't know. How you feeling?
I think that's good. Covered some good topics today.
Love it. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations again for anyone who is still listening. Rich Watson exited his business, took almost a year off, moved to a different country, following his dream to live the life he wants to live. Definitely connect with him if you want to hear more about that. Definitely tune in for more Brush Busters. Rich, anything else?
That's it, Chris. Great chat with you today.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one, everybody.
Take care.